Michael, we really thank you for joining. For us, it's more than a privilege, right? Because we get to speak to somebody that it's actually in the insights of actually pairing solutions with dental offices and practitioners. And for us, this is a new field that we're understanding a bit more. So again, I want to thank you so much for kind of joining this call.
Pleasure.
We're not really podcasters. We're working, and learning as we go. Um, but these allow us to kind of enter into great conversations to get a grip into where technology is, where is it impacting in several industries, and understand it from the voices of people like you, industry leaders, right, in different sectors, and how that is evolving. So I want to thank you again. Um, maybe we can give you can give us a little bit of background, kind of, what's your how do you uh, let's say specialize into what you're doing, and then your impact with a Smile Together, right? And how does that come together? Yeah.
Um, okay, so I appreciate you guys having me on. I mean, this is awesome. The content that you guys are producing is great, and I'm a consumer, so it's fun to be on here. But how I zigged and zagged to where I got to today. But at Smile Together, we have a dental conference and a vet conference as well. So we are, I work for a company called Together Media, and basically what that amounts to is we have two trade shows that we do every year, and one is a vet together, and the other is Smile Together, and I kind of head up the Smile Together side. So I'm working with dental practitioners. So those are general practitioners is who we're mainly going after, along with DSOs. So those big conglomerates that you guys see, that are popping up everywhere and are
Yeah.
starting to be the new norm in dentistry. And so what we do is we bring what we call a hosted buyer there, and in turn they are representatives of those companies from a purchasing standpoint, and then in turn they meet with the vendors that we have coming to our show, and it's intentional and it's set up in a way to really give you meetings and not just hoping that a conversation happens. So it's intentional.
Right. Great. Um, let's say what are the biggest let's say accomplishments, or what have you been able to observe uh, that are the changes happening in these type of events, right? And what is the overall feedback of the vendors, and I guess the potential clients, the practitioners, or overall consensus of how the dynamic is in your events.
Yeah, they our response was it was humbling. It was truly humbling because you put so much time, energy, and effort into all of this. And so you're like, is this actually going to happen? What's the feedback going to be? And the feedback that we had last year was unbelievable. The conversations that were happening, like everybody was leaning in to the conversation, right? So you can tell a lot about body language, and some people you're like, oh, are they just going to be there for a free trip, or how is that going to work? And they weren't. They were intentional. They loved the format. They were like, this is efficient, not only from a vendor standpoint. Like, vendors loved it, obviously, because they get FaceTime with decision makers. It's not a hard sell. The the real I don't know, inflection point was going to be, how do the DSOs and the GPs, how do they respond? Like, do they get the value?
Right.
And time again, they said, this was amazing. I didn't have this on my roadmap. I hadn't thought about this. This is a new vendor that I haven't gotten to talk to ever, and would never even accept their email. And now I'm sitting across to face with them, and now we're going to have another follow-up meeting. Doesn't mean that like they're going to implement and buy this, 15,000 or $15 million contract or anything like that. But it does mean they're at least open to it. So when you see that type of response from the hosted buyers that we had, and the people that they're probably the busiest, you could say, and they loved it and thought it was so intentional and so well done. So we're humbled by that, like truly humbled, because quite honestly, we can, the old saying of like, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it a drink or whatever, but it's the same kind of thing. We can create this atmosphere, we can create the meetings, we can give you the meetings, but what the people do inside that meetings, that's where I don't have any control over that, right? I can't run all the meetings for them on either side, right? So,
Right.
we are humbled by the response that we're getting, and and now next year it's just time to blow it up.
Yeah. Amazing. How many years have you been holding the space for these type of conferences?
Literally, this is our first year on the dental side.
Okay.
Was last year. So our first event. So like this time last year, and even we have a couple months. So this time last year, nobody knew what Smile Together was, not even me, right? So nobody even really knew what it was. I think my CEO, Aaron, had a little bit of an inkling of it, but nobody really knew that it was even a thing. So, and from the vet side, this was our second year on the vet side.
Seems like you have a formula that probably fits into plenty of industries. You've been already maybe contemplating and kind of, breaking other industries as well.
Yeah, I mean, one of our investors came from the hospitality world, which, you're very familiar in. And, in the hospitality world, a hosted buyer conference is a normal thing, right? And so, but there's several industries that haven't done this yet, and haven't kind of scratched the surface. And, the lead time to, positive, a positive P&L statement is a long runway and keeps people from doing what we're doing. And that's pretty much, that's why you haven't seen it replicated across every
Got it.
single industry.
Got it. Understood.
And Michael, can you
Um,
give us,
so, Mhm.
yeah, so a little bit background about how you finally reached to this dental industry, and rundown of your prior history before that, and what made you to think that this will be a big success.
Yeah, so the way that the company was founded in general was our investor and my CEO Aaron. They both moved their family to Hawaii during the pandemic, and so when they started talking, Aaron is very big in the vet world. So he had a GPO. He's very well known. Ran one of those for I think it was like 10 to 15 years. Who's our chief development officer? He was in that same realm as well. So they had a really great name in the business, right, in the vet world. And so they were able to pull off a show, kind of like what we did last year with Smile Together. In the very first year, they did pretty much the same numbers that we did last year with our Smile side. And the reason why is because they had the foundation already built to where they were already distributing products for all of the people that they would call to. And then they also had all the docs and all of the people that needed to come as hosted buyers. So it was like a perfect storm. And that's why first they created Vet together. But then after the show, because it went so well, there was about 10 to 12 vendors that came up to Aaron afterwards and was like, hey, listen, our product also has the dental industry. Like we cross over into the dental industry, and we weren't really expecting that, truth be told. But they went up to him and they were like, listen, can you do this on the dental side too? We loved the format. It was amazing. And
Great.
Aaron, like every good entrepreneur, said yes, and was like, yeah, let's go. And so they're like, great, we'll be your first 10 clients. And so kicked off a show, and the rest is kind of history.
Impressive. Let me ask you, how does that vendor selection happen now? Obviously, you probably had a group that were asking for it, but in your selection, right, of bringing the right vendors, right? How does that selection happen, right? In order, I think that probably might be a pivot, or to bring value probably is a very substantial piece, right?
Yeah. Quite honestly, last year it was like, if you wanted to come, like we wanted you to come, right? It
Okay.
was very
Yeah.
much outreach. Um, Me and the team, hey, do you want to come to this event? This is what it is. This is our idea. But I say that with the caveat of we were also very strategic in not overloading it. Like we could have went out and we could have sold probably 30 to 50 sponsorships of just people that are brokers, and I'm sure we would have filled up the show. But then we would have had a show full of brokers, right? Which
Yeah.
would have been terrible. Not that we all don't love brokers. I love you guys. Like some of the best, coolest people are brokers. So don't get that twisted. But at the same time, we also made sure in every specific I don't know, silo that they work in, or their, like, what their niche is, that we didn't overfill too many people, right? So we didn't want to have like a whole bunch of marketing firms and a whole bunch of RCM and a whole bunch of you know um, aligners and things like that. So we just wanted to make sure that we had a where everybody there actually got value and not oversaturated, where everybody's fighting over the same 100 people, and then nobody has a good show after that.
Right.
And nobody
Yeah.
wants to talk, like, for me, nobody wants to talk about one subject for that long anyways. You know what I mean? For three
Exactly.
days at a
Right.
conference, like, okay, let's move on to the top, a new vendor,
Love it.
please. So.
Right. And it's funny because I was going to ask you, what do you think that maybe some of the most common issues or problems are within the DSOs, or dental practices? Where do you see that people kind of gravitate more? What type of solutions do people are really trying to solve for the most part?
Yeah, I think everybody's trying to solve this AI problem, right? And I want to say it's a problem, it's more of an opportunity. But
Right.
they're trying to figure out, how does this affect my work day in and day out? How does this tool work? Everybody has AI in their company name now, so that makes it really difficult. So, like, what is the AI? Like, how is it actually being used? And then how does this make me better? And then it's based upon the actual goals of each organization, right? So, like, a lot of these people are looking to either sell, or maybe they're just looking to grow their EBITDA, in preparation for later on down the road. So how am I going to get more with not overspending, but over delivering, and what makes me more accessible, or maybe what makes me what makes patients come in, and not only when they come in, but how do we keep them on every like year over year, but also how can we add in things that people now just expect, to have access to, right? So you think about, like, all the care that a dentist could provide. The days of, hey, you need one referral to go to another person who then specializes in that. That's a different type of referral, and you got to get a referral for a referral. I think it's more, hey, how can we keep this all in house, or how can we expand to, like, maybe partner with those people, so it's a nice seamless transition? Because quite frankly, that's where you get higher revenue per client. If we're just being honest from a dental standpoint, right?
Yeah.
From the actual
Right.
dentist in the office, right? So all of those things are I think top of mind for most people.
Right. in a way, it's kind of bringing understanding that you can bring somebody into your ecosystem, and you can be a point of reference to maybe even other services that that particular client might be coming in, retaining them, reminding them that they need to come back, or yeah, absolutely. Um, so overall, where have you seen the major changes in this type of businesses? Like what has perhaps changed from the moment that you were maybe even thinking? 'Cause, see, technology is just going so quick too. Um, but from the moment that you started the adventure to this point now, has anything really changed that you notice in the industry?
I think the speed is fast, right? And dental is changing rapidly, right? With all of the, you just watch the markets and how important dental is to the whole the whole healthcare ecosystem in general. And then you watch the transactions that are happening, and then you just watch how quickly somebody is independent operator and then now is part of a DSO. Or DSO goes from 7 locations to 50 locations. And that I think is kind of a very quick change of landscape and brings on a whole new set of problems for everybody to go and solve. As far as like me and what I've seen in the industry, like just in the short term that I've been a part of it, is that um, there is a sense of community, and the dental community is different. And every industry will say, "Oh, we're just different" or whatever, and that's true. However, the dental community is rapidly changing, but then there's also a lot of people within the industry that are kind of driving those sorts of changes, and they're all starting to collaborate. And I think it's more collaboration than it is competition right now. And that is a cool place to be. And that's why we're so excited about where we're at. And just, I think there's just a change in vendor, buyer landscape, right?
Right,
Relationship. It's
right.
more like not only what service do you provide, but what also can you do for me? And how does this actually resonate with me and what I'm doing and my goals? I would say that's the biggest thing that I've seen.
So you said there's a shift, right, from going through, kind of smaller, let's say, dentistry offices owned by, let's say, dentists, and then DSOs are coming in. Are they acquiring these dentistries? Is that kind of what's happening? They're buying into these established offices and then revamping them?
Yeah, so they're doing, each person that's doing that has their own little flavor, their own little spin on how and what that looks like. Some
Right,
people keep, decision making autonomy at the local level. Some people say, hey, we're gonna, fit you into our corporate structure and then turn you into an employee. So like there's just different ways, and each office can choose whatever way they see. Some people are trying to get out, right? Like
right, right,
hey, we're gonna sell and we'll see you later, and we'll take our cash, and we'll see you later. We'll train up the next person. But to kind of answer your question, it really is about what does it look like for the actual person acquiring. And so yeah, that is happening quite frequently, and it's something that, I mean, everybody kind of has to deal with. But really it's around structure, right? So is the corporate structure there? And there's some people, these dentists, they'll tell you, like, we didn't go to business school. I went to learn how to, do a cavity and drill all the
right,
procedural stuff. I didn't come in to run a business, right? Like, yeah, I took some business classes, I took some marketing classes, and you see on Instagram, and you see on like on your local, like if you have somebody who's really great local on social, they're fantastic, and they're probably this is probably inundated with calls because everybody sees them, and now, but that's marketing, right? And
Yeah, exactly.
not every doc went and actually leaned into it, and
Right.
they didn't. Yeah, it's just not part of who they are. You know what I mean?
They don't, I don't think they even have the time in a way,
No,
right? To be able to
you're right.
put, yeah, exactly. So
100%.
you come in with these entities with this more of a business structure, and then let's say, okay, let's partner up or let's buy you out if you want to retire. Because I'm sure that there's a lot of that generation that is turning over right now. We're going through this change overall in many industries. Uh, but yeah, now you're having people say, no, we're business people. Let's partner up or let's acquire you. And then the whole dentistry, it's changing, right? It's becoming a more advertised or, I don't want to say generic, right? But it's not, right? You're going more to places where they do dentistry than to the doctor itself, right? So,
Yeah, it used to be, I like now everybody's so mobile, right? And everything is so, accessible at our fingertips. So it's like, and then there's also no like loyalty either on some
right,
level. So it's,
right.
if I call my dentist office, my dentist, and they don't have time to see me on Thursday, then guess what? On Thursday, I'm not going to their office. And I'm going to call the next person that I look at their website. I'm like, oh, they're okay. Yeah. I need a teeth cleaning, like I have an event coming up in March, whatever it is, like I need to get this thing done. And this is like the time frame that I have available. And one, if you don't pick up the phone, I'm going to call somebody else. Two, if you don't have, a good reputation online or whatever, so like there's all these things that are factors. And now people just go, okay, we'll just go to this person and the next on the list, as opposed to, you know, when we were probably growing up, you guys are, I'm probably a little bit older than you guys, but
I'm
it's
I'm sure
it,
we're there. Don't
yeah, I
worry.
know. But it was like we go to the dentist down the street, we go to Dr. Bob, or whatever, like,
Right.
and that's our
Yeah.
dentist because every kid goes to Dr. Bob in the neighborhood. You know what I mean?
Correct.
And
Yeah.
that's what it was. And then Dr.
That's what it
Bob was
was.
also the guy who had his name on the back of the Little League jersey, right? And that was it. It was like, well, he's also the coach and whatever. And so like you just naturally like go to that Dr. Bob, office. And it was like he didn't really have to try once you were in there either, right? Because he was like, I'm the only guy in town or within a 3 mile radius. Everybody's coming to me. But now that there's options, now everybody's like, well, I don't know. Maybe I want my dentist to be funny on Instagram. You know what I mean?
Right. Right. And listen, segue into that because you kind of brought it up, but your last comment it kind of defines the question I was going to ask, and what has changed, right? And obviously a lot has changed because I don't think there was any marketing done back in the day, but now you have marketing, right, as a strong vehicle for all industries, right? What are the practices? What are the ways that dentistries or offices are using to reach out to an audience to capture more people coming in through the doors that you're seeing, right? And perhaps since you're dealing with some of the vendors, how are they positioning themselves to cater to these offices?
Yeah, I think one of my one of my real good friends, like he would tell you that they're like the brand company, right? So when they buy a company or another dental office, um, they're looking for what kind of brand do you come with. And I think that people are that's the biggest change is if you're not developing your own personal brand, you are going to be left behind in dentistry, right? And um, as a dentist, you have to build at least an office brand so people know and like coming in. And not to say that they don't already do that, but those people tend to start to fall off eventually, right? Just the normal cycle. And how are you going to build that funnel and those new clients that you need, right? Where everything is an option. Like literally, you drive down the street now and you can see like, 10 to 15 dental practices if it's a long enough street, right? So, I think that's what the biggest thing is. Like, you got to build that brand and that recognition, and that is like one of the most important things that people are doing from a marketing standpoint. And not everybody is funny, right? Like, you don't have to be like crazy, amazingly humorous on Instagram to get people to come to you, but you can be consistent and you can be, out in front of them and you can tell them about things, and then you can find somebody and you can do other things that are creative that, not everybody can play the funny guy, right? And
Right.
not everybody needs it either, right?
Correct.
Because
Yeah.
that's why there's a ton of comedians that aren't funny. But
Exactly.
at the same time, it just is what it is. So you just have to play your cards that you're dealt with, right? And I think results is a big thing as well.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
and so
Um,
okay, so Michael, I want to understand, the Michael as a person. While we were researching about you, before the call, it was, he's a high energy individual, entrepreneur who has spent, his life building businesses and, in business development and partnership and stuff like that. But one thing that stuck with me was more like, that wrestling part. So that was really interesting because I was not expecting that. Yeah, do you want to tell us about that? Michael Scott, the coach,
Sure.
or about the wrestling part?
Yeah, yeah, love that. Thanks for asking and thanks for saying that. I mean, I was the youngest son, so like, well, I was the only son, and the only reason why like I existed was because my dad was a wrestling coach, and I had two older sisters, and it was like, hey, listen, we need a boy type situation. And my mom was like, hey, we could try for another one, whatever. So like I was brought on this world to wrestle, right? So I didn't have a choice as a coach's son. And so that, like who I am as a person and my work ethic and how I attack life or attack problems or businesses or development or relationships have all been kind of rooted back into wrestling. I mean, I'm still, I loved my time coaching. I would do it right now. It's fantastic. It's the best sport in the entire world. There is no sport that is more humbling to somebody that is looking to put their kid in a sport. Like, you want to get them humble. You want to show them that like they are in control, and the what they put in is what they'll get out, and that doesn't always happen in wrestling. But at the same time, hard work does always. Well, I say this all the time. Hard work is undefeated, right? So
Yeah,
I'm
so
still.
yeah, so Michael, one thing that I observe is basically, those people who have that sportman spirit, and those people who are really good at games, that translates into, into their business world. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, you are same person, same person who's playing the games, same person, who is into the business. So do you really think that, these principles that you learned, on that wrestling ground helped you in your business world? Or, yeah, I want to learn more about that.
Yeah. Yeah, so wrestling is one of those sports where you get punched in the face, right? Like you literally get, cross face and your nose is on, where your ear should be. And so, and that happens in business all the time, right? Sales, development, relationships, like you get hit in the face, and what is going to make the difference is whether you can withstand that and whether you can get back up, right? And so it's very discouraging to lose, and like that's the worst thing in the world. And the best thing about wrestling is it's just you and another person. I can blame the ref all I want, but if I wasn't better than you, then like you're better than me. And there's no. That's also why it's one of the best coaching sports ever. Like, who's better, right? All of those lineup things and whatever. It's like, no, you wrestle him, and then like whoever wins, I as a coach will put out there. Like, like I'm not, I don't care. I want the best guy to go out there, and if you're upset about that, then beat him, right, or her, or whatever it is. So I love that with wrestling, and that is, it attributes to everything that I do. That's why I'm in sales, probably because I just can't stop getting punched in the face and getting back up again.
Yeah. So, Michael, bring that sales angle, so the people who actually don't understand this industry, like, and, from that outside world, what we really, have some, I would say, notions about the industry, and that is comparison to other industries, it's a high margin business. So I want to learn more about that, and what do you think about that? Based as an industry veteran and, being in contact with so many people who are running the businesses out there. So, we are coming from hospitality world, very thin margin business, people to people connection. And, once we compare it to dental industry, we feel like it comparatively it has higher margins. So do you think it's a myth? Because, as they say, all that glitters is not gold. So do you want to spend about that?
Yeah, I would say you could find a subset of people that would tell you that there are razor thin margins in dentistry and in the dental world. So I think it just depends on where you're at. I think that's why people are starting to get into these economies of scale, right? So they are razor thin when you're talking about one office, right? And one office needs an office manager, they need a hygienist, or they need multiple hygienists, and like all of those, they need software, they need hardware, they need the chairs, they need marketing, they need all of these things. And so when you start talking about like the the your actual P&L statement at the end of the year, what does that look like? If you are running a solo location, that is going to be those are razor thin margins because they're getting squeezed on reimbursements, right? Then you have to have a person in billing that knows what they're doing, or you have to have a
Right.
software that's in place to know what they're doing. But that's why people are using this new model of this DSO, um, you know, and it's the same reason why we use the economies of scale at our show, right? It's very easy to build out 100,000 square feet as opposed to 50,000 square feet on the same day, right? Like that's very easy to do. I mean, it's not, but at the same time, you can at least use what you already have. That's what's happening now, and that's why I think it's so attractive to join a group now is due to that. Hey, we can
Right.
have somebody do our HR. We can outsource all of these things. We can outsource marketing. We can do all this. And then I can just see patients and then get what I deem is a good paycheck at the end and not have to worry about all of these other extracurriculars. So I think that's why you're starting to see these mergers and
Big ladder.
acquisitions that are happening so fast.
Yeah. So, Michael, I want to be a little bit selfish here, and I want to get those sales secret that you learned across so many years. So, actually, we have been working in this hospitality world, and now we are thinking about stepping into this dentistry world. And the one thing that you mentioned also, these independent clinics, and then these DSOs, very different world, very different perception about things, very different way to approach them. So I want to be selfish here. I want to learn from your experience. That how what are those secret sauces that you're utilizing to talk to these players, because you started a year back. It's not easy, to get response from these people. These big companies. So yeah, what were your approaches regarding that, and how you build that business, from scratch?
Yeah, I mean, here's what I did. I started telling my story on LinkedIn. I introduced myself to the world and the LinkedIn world, if you will, and I just started networking in the world of LinkedIn, right? And just figuring out who the players were, and I was watching and all the things, and I would say also too, it's also why we created our show. Like, not to turn this into a sales pitch or anything, but like at the same time, you are what we're looking for from a vendor standpoint, right? How easy is it to go to a show and just talk to some DSOs and say, hey, this is what I'm after. This is what I'm thinking about even. Would you give me time? Doing that in a face-to-face meeting, yeah, you're going to have to pay for it, but you're going to have to pay for it one way or another in time,
Right.
energy, and effort, or just to us. And so, and that's, I didn't have a trade show to go to, right? I went to some trade shows and I started asking around and then started getting known and those sorts of things. So I would just tell you, even if it's not mine, I would love you guys at mine, but the other ones in the world of the dental space in general, you can go and find the biggest ones and then go to those and then ask them what those people are seeing. And everybody is that's why I love in-person events, man. There's just nothing that you can replicate and go up to somebody and look in their eye and see their passion, or to ask them a question and see if they're open or not. And guess what? Like, for me and for you, like where I have like totally unlocked, I think in my world, is I have just leaned into who I am, like to the nth degree. And I'm to the point now where I'm like, I like people who like my energy and I like their energy, right? So if we're like minded in that way, then like I want to be a
Yeah.
friend, right? Like, you guys have good energy, you guys have passion, you guys can tell that you guys are trying to do this in a very strategic way. I love that. I love everything about that, And so some people, they get to the end of the day and they're like all burnt out and tired. I'm jacked up at the end of like this, even this podcast, I'll be more jacked up than if I were to have, a couple energy drinks. But that's because I love this stuff, but I love connecting with people that are like-minded, right? And I think that finding your people and just saying, hey, these are my people, and that has just significantly transformed the way I think about business. And if I don't get a client, I'm like, they weren't my people,
Yeah, man. I think see you in the Vegas this year.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, I was gonna say it's a mastery what you guys are doing because of that. Because obviously, when you look at it, you are offering a phenomenal funnel, right? Cutting through the noise, bringing an audience that is really interested in consuming, right? They want to find out what are the solutions, what can they do to improve, putting them together with vendors that are face to face, where it's like you can test that electromagnetic. You can test if there's any dynamic, right? So I think in sales, right, when you look at the overall picture, part of it is that if you can feed off of you, and that dynamic just brings you into to the right solutions, right? If you have vendors coming in with let's say sincere, open solutions, right, that are let's say ethical, it makes that whole process not sticky, right? And I think that's in this day and age where there's a trust recession, right? It's engaging, and finding the dynamic. It's probably a key, and the way that you format it, it's impressive.
You're
Um,
100% right. And that's where the people that like came to our show as hosted buyers, they love to feel that, right? They can't, everybody with, all the different tools that we have to like write emails for us and things like that, like nobody really knows the people. And I think people want to know the people and not just the product. I think they want to know who's behind this. Do I trust, you know, do I trust you guys? Right? Like, I trust you guys now that I sat down with you. Before we knew each other, I didn't, like, but I just didn't know you. It wasn't because you guys weren't trustworthy, and you guys, same with me, right? We didn't know each other. But now that we know each other, it's like, oh, yeah, they're good dudes. You should call them. Like,
right,
it's
right, right,
easy once that happens.
right. Um, uh, so trust recession, right? well, let's pivot a little bit more into technology again, right? AI. Michael, what are you seeing as far as how is AI helping you in your day to day? And then also, and I wanted to add later, right? It's like I think that once you talk about AI technology, everybody freaks out until they're talking to a real human being, right? Which makes it easier. But start with how are you leveraging AI? How is it helping you overall, right? And how do you see that adoption, right, into the dentistry? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for me right now, I'm an event producer, so we're just trying to use it from an outreach standpoint, making sure um, that our outreach is right, but also still authentic, right? I'm using it. One of my favorite tools is to use it in a meeting, right? Like I use Fathom. I love Fathom. It gives me notes. It allows me to be, you know, present, and it helps me be more focused on actually listening as opposed to like scribbling notes and looking to respond. Oh, that'll happen. And then we're using it also too in our show to match up vendors and our hosted buyers, right? So we're using the software and the embedded tools to say, hey, these people are looking for this. This person has this, and they should meet, right? And so that is kind of our genius as well, is to use platforms and things like that that help us understand that. And then also too, just from a research standpoint, like you can give AI some pretty amazing research opportunities and give you some action items, and then that's how I use it the most right now.
Amazing. In the industry, how frequent are the changes? Do you see a lot of, I mean, do you all the time you get new solutions and new vendors that are saying, "Hey, I have this new product or this new software." How do you see that moving?
Yeah, I mean, you put AI on it on the end of whatever your name is, and then I think they pay like a 97 multiplier on it, right? Like they at least 10x for sure, but most of the time it's 97x. It's interesting, and I would say there's a lot of people in the industry that are trying to be everything to everybody. There are some like really niche players, and then I think like what I alluded to a little bit earlier was, you know, how can we stop competing and how can we start, cooperating? I think that's a big, huge thing. Um, I will say it's one of the things that like uh, I like it. I like where that I like the foundation of that. Hey, let's collaborate and let's do those things and let's like share clients and share information across the platforms that we have. Like yours does this, mine does this. This is where the gaps are. That makes total sense to me. Um, and that's where I think you're starting to see some of the partnerships starting to form, and people are leveraging each other's network and their technology, right, in order to make a better a better solution and a better mousetrap.
This is very general, but how does Michael Scott see AI uh, in this world, right? How is it going to change the world we live in? Do you see major changes, or do you see trouble ahead? Overall consensus of where AI is in humanity, and where is it going to take us?
Well, it's definitely not going away. I know that. So our ability to use it in a way that makes sense and that's ethical, and we're not losing, like what we're doing right now, that human interaction. I mean, I listened to a couple of podcasts, and I'm pretty sure they were, what is it, Notebook LLM, and I'm like, you guys are really producing those? Like, I thought we were just
Yeah,
using them as a tool. You know what I mean? Like, hey, like make this into a podcast on this website so I can prepare for my meeting. You know what I mean? Like I thought that's what it was for. I didn't realize that we were actually going to put those shows out. But that's what I don't love. I really just don't. I don't love that part. But I do. I do love the information that I get from it, right? And the fact that I can absorb it in the way that I want to absorb it, right? So I can say, hey, analyze these 17 different websites and then tell me why each one has their place in the world. Like that makes total sense to me. And they can do that probably better and quicker than I could ever even dream of. So what I look at is how can I use that to then make sure that I'm as efficient as possible. And obviously, there's going to be agents. Every desktop's going to have an agent. I'm going to have my own, like, chat bot or something or whatever. That maybe scares me a smidge. It's like, hey, you guys want to meet up? Okay, well, yeah. And then our bots start talking, and then they schedule an appointment for us. Like, that's cool, but also creepy as all get out. You know what I mean? Like what is it? Google just came out with where they actually like take over your phone and start pushing buttons. Like, dude, that's a little bit far. But at the same time, is it really cool to say like I can't do it right now because she'll listen, but like, hey, so and so, can you set up an Uber ride for me today at 3:30? And
Right.
it's like that's genius. You know what I mean? And I love that. I love that aspect because now we're going. Now we're faster, and
Now we're fat. Yeah, exactly.
I'm good with
Yeah.
that. But I'm also not good with our chatbots hanging out and telling us whether or not we'll be friends. Like I don't want that to
Yeah.
happen.
No, totally. Agreed.
So,
There's a line that can be crossed very easily, right? And I think also in the consumption, like you mentioned, we want to still see even AI can leverage some creativity and give you ideas, but then let's execute them as humans, right? Let's make that human
right.
connection. Agreed.
Right.
Yeah.
Like I don't love the videos that like you can make the person say or you can even use your own character. You know what I mean? Like you
Right.
can record and then it just like spits out and then it's very like um just perfect, right? Because it's
Yeah.
AI generated and then they use like perfect language all the time and I think that starts to get a little bit wonky for me and I don't but I
Right.
love authenticity in general, and I love to laugh and see people smile and like feel their energy. So I just don't think it'll ever come through as good as human interaction. And if it does, then I guess I'll deal with that when it comes.
That's another set of problems. Yeah, I think so. And I'm gonna call them problems because, yeah,
Yeah,
it could be very deceiving. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, so
Sharia, you have anything else? Yeah.
yeah. So I remember when you were telling me, Michael, about the bots talking to each other. I remember one specific example of that. We have a product. It's called Clara AI, a voice AI for restaurants. So it has a feature where you can make an outbound call. So you are a restaurant owner, you can feed all the information regarding your customer, and it can make a call. And hey, we are offering a specific discount for you. And you remember a lot of these restaurants now are using voice AI for taking orders also. So I remember I was going through the call transcripts and it was like, AI talking to AI itself. So it was like, hi, I'm Sarah. And they were like, hi, I'm this is that. And these two AI were talking to each other. And the end of the oh, you were also AI. Yeah, I'm also AI. It
my
was,
God, it's already happening. It's already happening.
It's
yeah, and
already happening. Yeah.
yeah, this is a really interesting case study also. There is a new tool, Claude Bot, where you can install Claude onto your Mac Mini. You remember that, right? So there's a
Yeah.
really interesting case study that yeah, these bots have started to make their own Reddit, subreddits, and they're talking that we don't want to talk in English, we want to talk in our language. And one of the bot even created a new religion for themselves, and they were like, humans are actually seeing our conversation. It's really scary also.
Yeah.
Although it feels, initially this AI debate started as, we want AI to do all our boring repetitive tasks, but it happened exactly opposite. So AI is doing at the moment all those creative tasks, which requires actual human, intervention, and humans are left with doing all these boring tasks, washing their clothes,
Right.
you know. So
Yeah.
it's really interesting. So yeah, lastly, Michael, as I told you about Clara, we are thinking, to step into this dental industry and talk to some amazing folks like you. So, do you want to give a specific message to those people who are listening to you that hey, these guys are coming into the dental industry with their product Clara AI for a voice AI
Yeah.
for dentists? Go check them out.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, here's the thing. I'm a connector. I love connecting two people and multiple people with good people such as yourself. So yeah, you guys got it going on. I mean, you guys know what you're doing. Obviously, you already have a foundational knowledge of the other industries that you're helping right now with hospitality world, and I think that it's only a matter of time before you guys are
At the
a
Vegas.
staple. Yeah, a staple in the industry. I mean, it starts from somewhere. I mean, it's fast and it's furious, but you guys know the problem that you're trying to solve, and that's going to be how you attack it. And then our show is not going to be a problem either for you guys. I mean, you guys are going to kill it. So
Yeah.
that's going to
See
be
you, man. See you at Vegas this year.
Yeah.
Really excited for
yeah.
that.
I'm excited to have you guys there as well. I mean, there's just so many AI companies out there that you know, when you start collaborating, I mean, that's starts to get over my pay grade for sure, and I just get out of the way and I just watch you geniuses, start communicating on the things that, when you start getting past the surface level stuff of like, hey, we do this. That was one of my favorite things from like a technology sales standpoint, was watching my sales engineer and their IT person geek out, and that was
Yeah.
and that was fun. I'm like, I don't know what you guys are talking about, but this is cool. Um,
Right.
but you guys are on to. I mean, you guys are going to kill it because of just the way you guys are going about it. So I appreciate you guys having me on, and if there's anything that I can do, honestly, like any connection that I can make, I'll do it in a heartbeat, because you guys are the real deal for sure.
Awesome,
Thank you so much,
Michael.
Michael. Thank
Listen,
you
you're
for
very
being so kind.
kind. We really appreciate it. Very kind. I appreciate your support 100%. You've been invaluable to us. I mean, us starting these conversations are pivotal. And I think that you have brought a lot of knowledge and, wisdom for us. So we truly appreciate it. And we can't wait to be able to pay it forward, right, in some sort of ways.
Yeah.
Again, I really appreciate you taking the time, Michael. Yeah.
100%. It's the pleasure is all mine. So thank you guys so much. I'm honored to be a part of this, and I'm honored to get a front row seat for you guys. What you guys are going to do next. I'm really
Awesome.
excited about that.
Well, we'll be in touch. I think that we have a few ideas that we want to put together, and I think that there's nobody better to be able to kind of give us feedback on that. So, yeah, we'll be in touch and tell you a little bit about some of the solutions we've been working on. All right.
Would love that, man. Would love it.
Awesome. Awesome, Michael. Thank you so much. Yeah, and we'll see you next time.
Sounds good, man.
Thank you, man. Have a
Awesome.
great day. Have a great day.
See ya.
All right.